Let's get started. Daily Tanya. For Daily Tanya for Erev Pesach, Wednesday. And we're continuing the theme about, while it's very, it's essential to do mitzvahs actionable, but we are trying to understand why it's so important to have kavanah. So we spoke about when you have kavanah, you raise up the action to a to a revealed spiritual dimension. So he says, however, you might wonder, like, wait a second, you tell him you learn Torah and you're not having intention, it's not holy? How does it make sense? It's holy. It's not about you. It's about objectively, it's holy. So how do you, how could you pin everything on your kavanah? It's like, I don't care what you're thinking about. This is holy. This is God's wisdom, you're saying. Right? So it says like this. Although the Torah, we're giving the example of Torah study. Torah study without intention, it says it's holy, but it doesn't go up to the higher world in a revealed way because there's no kavanah. But wait a second, isn't the Torah in of itself holy, regardless of your kavanah? So he says, although the Torah and the Holy One, blessed be, are altogether one, for He and His will are one, and the Torah is God's will. So what does it need you? It's God. It's like you are speaking God's will and wisdom by just saying the Torah, irrespective of your kavanah, seemingly. It says still, it won't go up the same way with kavanah. Why? Because it gives some of the idea. The Holy One, blessed be He, fills all the worlds alike, yet the worlds are not equal in rank. Hashem's everywhere. You can't compare the revelation in a higher world to a lower world. Why? The difference between one world and the next is due to the recipients of the divine life force and is twofold. The difference is due to the recipients and is twofold. A, the higher worlds and beings receive an illumination infinitely greater than the illumination received by the lower. They get more divine source revelation. It's less separate feeling. And B, the higher worlds receive the illumination without as many garments and veils as the lower world. It's more unfiltered light. It's more pure feeling of Hashem. And the lower you go, it's more through a screen where it's feeling of Hashem. You feel, let's say, like, someone who's a great scholar and a person, knows, is a big fan of theirs and they know all their likes and they feel close. Can you compare how much that person feels close to the way that scholar's immediate family member feels close to the scholar? They know the scholar on a whole different, on a more like, you can know as much stats as you want. It doesn't make a difference. You can't compare the inner knowledge that a close family member has to someone who's, a fan from afar. So too, it's like you can feel close to Hashem. What does it mean? Close means different things depending on your framework of reality. He says, this world, so in those accounts, this world is the lowest of worlds in both respects. For the illumination of divine life force within it is greatly contracted to the furthest degree. It is therefore corporeal and material. The illumination of divine life force is greatly contracted to the furthest degree, and it's therefore more the type of light. I'm sorry, it's quantitatively far, and furthermore, even this contracted illumination, this very filtered illumination. I'm sorry, no, this small, this quantitative, small glimpse, even that is going through a filter. So it's low on both accounts in that sense. Until it's so quantitatively and qualitatively diminished, it is clothed in the final and hardest of the filters called klipat noga, to give life to all clean things of this world, including the animating intelligent soul in man. Meaning everything in the physical is extremely diminished. God, life, God, revelation. Everything is extremely diminished. Okay, and meaning before we get into bad, it's physical, it is extremely, extremely diminished revelation. It's almost minuscule.
You say the lowest level, right?
The
What do
lowest
you mean minuscule? Minuscule what? What does that mean?
revelation of God. In the world, let's say, of Yetzirah or Bria, the world of the angels, right? They are cognizant of their godly source to some degree, and in a very natural way. That's the default setting of that type of world. Our world, the mere physicality of it means that it went through a tremendous amount of the godly energy that animates existence in this physical world. By mere physical definition, it went through a tremendous hiding of itself, hiding upon hiding, contraction upon contraction. And it's not bad. This is just the way it is. It then can lend to bad, because then there's free choice and all that. But it's we don't have to use the word bad. Physical means is synonymous with klipat noga, which means at best a translucent shell for the spark of godliness that animates it.
Wow.
But it's a shell. Everything's going through the shell. Okay. Therefore, back to our discussion here. When your animating soul speaks words of Torah or prayer without kavanah, so what we have here, the concealment characteristic is absent because this is God's holy stuff. It's Torah prayer. So no worries now about it being filtered to not recognition. It is still recognizable as Torah and prayer.
What is an animated soul?
Animal soul, same thing. It's just the human soul, the energy of the soul, the soul that gives energy to do stuff.
What's the word they use?
Animating soul. I don't even know why they doesn't say that word there.
It should be animal.
I know they same thing. It's two names for the same thing.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped. The klipat noga gives life to all permitted things, including the animating intelligent soul in man. Animating intelligence, right? And therefore, when that soul speaks Torah and Tefillah, prayer without kavana, so again, is that obviously holy? Is that God's words? Yes. So there's no concealment, but there's still contraction, which means the way you get Torah here is in a very, very contracted way, the way it is, let's say, in the higher worlds. More, I think.
Less filter?
No, he's saying There's two things. There's quantity and then there's filtering quality. So when you say Torah, even if you're not thinking about Hashem, is it the same thing as a table that hides Hashem? No. This is Torah. It's Hashem's what do you call it? I don't care if you're like holy, if you're thinking about God or not. You read this, you're reading God's wisdom. There's no filtering. It's God's wisdom. It's very obvious it's God's stuff. Now, the thing is, though, in God's stuff, it could be a lot of at a very I don't know what quantity means, like overpowering a lot of it, or it's very small chunk of it. In the sense, the way that you're experiencing it.
The levels.
You're not saying Torah and like fainting. You're like doing it in very small chunks.
Like a candle that would be consumed by the sun. It's not like that. But it can.
Though these are holy letters, and thus in this case, the Klipat Noga of the animating soul. The animal soul, by the way, you notice he changes, I think, a lot in the later chapters. He calls the animating soul. Really, the name is interchangeable, but here it's less of a point about the animal. It's more about the physiological soul, life source, life battery. The animating soul. It animates your life. So the holy letters, and thus in this case, the Klipat Noga of the animating soul does not constitute a veil of separation, concealing or covering the divine holiness clothed in these letters, as Klipat Noga conceals and covers the divine holiness, the animating soul when it utters idle chatter, and the divine holiness and the animating souls of other ritually clean and living creatures. Because even a cow or a table, it's still Klipat Noga. It's still physical and doesn't scream out, "Hi, I'm part of God." For although no place is empty of God, and God's everywhere, even in the cow and your idle chatter, yet Hashem is the most hidden one of all the hidden, and is called the hidden God, Kel Mistater. Similarly, the illumination, extension, of vitality from him is hidden in many dense garments and veils, and is finally clothed and hidden in the garment of Noga. This is just comparing. Most physical stuff goes through a qualitative filtering that changes the end result. That it's distortion at the end. It's a distorted version of its original pure source. It is therefore, however, with the holy letters, is different though with the letters of prayer and Torah and prayer, because there's no Klipa Noga there. On the contrary, the Klipa Noga of your breath speaking it was transformed to holiness and good, as explained above. Nonetheless, the illumination from Hashem's holiness that these words contain is contracted to the furthest degree, since the voice and speech are material. The illumination from His holiness is tzimtzum, it's contracted, since the voice and speech is still physical, material. Let's see what that means in here. First of all, there was a well-known family in which the 4 older brothers were renowned rabbis. This is in the Steinsaltz, Alan, so you know. The 5th brother was thought to be a simpleton. Despite this, it was specifically the 5th brother, who was on the face of it a simpleton, who was known as an astonishingly honest person, who would not take even a penny that did not belong to him. His older brothers certainly attained greater comprehension than he did. They knew the whole Torah. But his clarity within the small understanding he attained regarding the division between truth and falsehood, honesty and simplicity, was unblemished. There was no lack of clarity from these areas.
Wow.
The way that the Steinsaltz Tanya explains it is, our world is both ignorant and blurred. So, meaning number one is, we have a very rudimentary understanding of all God's stuff because we have limited tools for appreciating it. Number two, everything we get is in a blurred or distorted form. The divine is understood in limited external form, and the relationship between good and evil, truth and falsehood, holiness and purity are not perceived clearly. You don't really get it. Even this is kosher, this is not kosher. Like, okay, do you really know what that means? Do you know how bad the not kosher is? Do you really know how good the kosher is? Moving along, just thinking that better. It says we quoted in God is the hidden and the most hidden. What does it mean? He's more concealed than anything else that's concealed. What does it mean? He's present, but he's concealed. He's the God who conceals himself. There's two types of concealment. The first is when a concealed entity becomes concealed. This is built on the fact that there's a certain mechanism for the concealment of a darkening that prevents revelation. The second is the concealment that does not require any mechanism of concealment. It's just it's essentially unknowable. So the first type is a result of a smallness of light. When you take something, you say, I'm going to hide the light. Okay, it's a smallness of light. The second type, it derives from the fact the light is so bright that cannot be comprehended by existing tools of comprehension. In this sense, among human beings as well, the greater concealment is not when a person hides something, but rather when he says everything. And specifically, then the receiver gets overwhelmed, doesn't understand anything.
That's happened.
When we say God conceals himself, we're talking more that God is too much for us. Not that God is like, peekaboo, I'm hiding. It's that God is essentially too much for us. So therefore, God is hidden. He says, usually what we're talking about.
He protects us.
Meaning, because there's no place devoid of him, therefore you can't see him. Because Hashem is so much, so everything, and we can't, you don't hear dog whistles. I'm saying, like, our tools of comprehension can't get that everything. So it's beyond us. It's an interesting way. God is so here, so much, so pervasive, and you can't understand something that's so pervasive. You get like, piecemeal stuff. It's an interesting idea.
Shkoach.
Here we have the answer to the big question. Why doesn't God reveal himself to us?
He has.
On a typical basis, I'm not seeing God right
open
now.
Your eyes and you can see God.
I don't see him. What do I have to do now? I mean, I know he's here. Do I see it? Do I
look at yourself? Look at your body. Look at your mind. Think about your awareness.
See my body. I know that it comes from God, but it's hard to see. I understand it comes from God, and God's making it. It's necessary, and God must be here all the time. But I'm looking at the body. Then I'm not meaning. I'm not arguing.
Amazed every time I get out of bed in the morning. I'm amazed.
That's good.
I'm amazed even when I'm exhausted.
The difficulty is not because God conceals himself, because we are not capable of seeing him. The problem lies in
see
our
what he does. What else is necessary?
We don't have the real, we don't have the full tools to really see God.
I disagree, but I will shut up at this point.
Which are physical, because we are tools of comprehension that are very much tethered to a lot of physical tools, are not on the level that enables us to see God in the fullest sense. As he said, man shall not see me and live. It's not because God is not there, because we're man. Man cannot see me and live.
He's protecting us.
Okay, that's a good point. So he just points out.
But this is, these things are basically axiomatic, right? I mean, it's not something you can say, is it legitimate in what we're doing, that you can say it and someone says, I disagree with you. It's not a question of interpreting reality out there. This is this is the theology that we're learning.
But it's also something.
Where
Do you
that
see
goes,
Hashem like fully
I
now?
don't understand Mike's point.
I'm not sure either.
What are you saying, Mike?
I'm saying patently. Do you see God here right now, or do you see stuff?
Well, I don't know. What I'm doing is I'm trying to learn. Seems like a theology that I'm trying to learn. I can say to myself at certain times, yes, I see God, and yet the Tanya is telling me I don't. So,
well, I mean, forget Tanya. Do you see God now? Even when you look at the complexity of your breath of your life,
right?
You think about God. Does a person default into, wow, I'm breathing? There's God, or is a person easily, as most of probably the atheistic, no, I see my body. Like, yeah, a smarter person, a more refined person, sophisticated, will appreciate that breath is impossible without God. But you can't tell me you're seeing God in his purest form. You're seeing the symptoms of God. You're seeing
that's what we're learning. I mean, someone could say it, and it's not a scientific thing that can be disputed based on evidence. I mean, it's
I'm looking and praying.
Philosophy and a theory.
No, but it's also I'm saying, but it should both be tethered in some of our. At least in this case, I think it's tethered in our experience. Like I don't see God. I see my heart beating.
I can see it that way. I mean, I can see it in one way. Yes, I can say I see God.
Right.
I can also say I'm listening to your words, and yes, I can understand what is meant when the book says you don't see God. Okay. I can get there. So that's my point.
Every divine revelation, therefore, always involves a matter of change in the character of the world, as we see by Mount Sinai, in all descriptions of individual revelation by prophets. Revelation is dependent on a person ceasing to see as he saw previously and beginning to see things differently. Meaning, when you see a prophet sees God, what does it mean? He says he refined his vessel, that he almost has he goes beyond the typical human capacity. We do not feel the divine presence, just as we do not feel any presence which cannot be directly, tangibly encountered. The Rambam describes something similar to this in his introduction to Perek Chelek, when he compares this phenomenon to a person who's blind from birth and cannot comprehend what color is. You can describe color to a blind man from birth, but none of these things will ever suffice. Every attempt to distinguish between green and blue will immediately expose the inability of language to capture something that involves our direct human experience. Because if he doesn't have, you can talk about red is different than blue. The guy never saw color. You can put into frequencies. It's not going to be that he won't get it fully.
It won't be the same.
They will understand the concept, but
even the concept is
right.
But even the concept they can't understand fully, right? Because they don't have the tool of reference to even appreciate it. All the more so, in speaking of the divine, in order for the listener to hear, in order for the comprehending person to relate, he must move to a totally different framework. A person who's tied to the concept of the body cannot begin to comprehend what the divine is, what the divine power is. He lacks words and points of relationship needed to construct a relationship. In other words, everything we are very much tethered to the physical realm, material realm.
Right.
To get beyond that, you have this is a lot of what the point of Hasidism is you're trying to understand, become more familiar to some degree, as limited as it might be, with abstract ideas, with the abstractions, the abstractions that are necessary to appreciate God on a higher level. And we always go little by little. Electricity. No person has ever seen electricity. We have no direct way to perceive it. In fact, we don't have any understanding of what electricity is. And even though we don't know what electricity is, we can feel an electrical shock. Beyond this, we can construct devices to harness its power. In this sense, we do not comprehend the entity itself, but we comprehend its illumination. We feel its manifestations. So back to God, why do we not at least sense the divine force that operates in the world? Why is it you could appreciate your breathing as God, but it's not a default, patently obvious thing without a lot of mental focus to get there? Why isn't it patently obvious that everything here is a direct, is directly possible from God because of God? He says because God is always hiding through the veil of Noga, we said earlier. Noga basically hides that there is no source. But prayer is, as you said earlier, even if it's not with intention, it is still holy. It's still not the veil of klipa. Even so, this illumination is. Hey, what's up? What? No. Later, 11. Tom, I want to go soon. 20 minutes. The Torah resides in this world in physical voice and speech. One cannot expect there to be a profound revelation within something that's part of the physicality of this world. A person does not have a special mouth for Torah speech. The mouth that says holy words is the same mouth that says other words, idle words. The letters expressing holiness in the book are physical letters. So they're intrinsically holy.
Where are you reading?
Basically, I'm reading the Steinfeld. It's saying that why, when you say words of holiness, on one hand, it's holy, but it's still tethered to the world of action. The Torah appears within the vessels of this world, within all its screens and contractions that the world exists in. And it cannot transcend this on its own. A holy book is just a holy book, part of the parameters of this world, physical ink on physical pages. It does not itself, by itself, rise higher to the upper worlds. You have a holy book, it sits on the shelf. Okay, it's holy. Is it being a revelation? No, it's just a book. It's a holy book. You understand? Like, it's holy, but is it revealing? It's very interesting. Prayer, when a person takes a holy book and studies it, whether with holy kavana or not kavana, or not for the sake of God, the book itself remains unchanged. It remains a book. And it remains a holy book. A person cannot cause the Torah to stop being Torah. All is paralyzing is his ability to extract it from its physical level I don't know, it's interesting. Rabbi Meir in the Gemara, Rabbi Meir relates, he taught the Torah to Elisha ben Avuya, Acher, who was a big apostate. He left.
What's your name? Right.
He's not apostate.
No,
The Torah that Rabbi Meir learned from the I'm sorry. Rabbi Meir would go after Elisha ben Avuya became an apostate. He was still a genius. So Rabbi Meir would go to learn parts of Torah that he knew. He related to it in the way you relate to a book. Meaning, he didn't get that emotional connection to this apostate. The person was what he was, but the Torah in him remained as it was and did not stop being Torah. There was no flaw in this brilliant man's Torah, but just in its place. It could not ascend and remain the parameters of words without rectification, without assent, without the creation of the appropriate relationship to repair them. Very interesting. This reality of a holy book lying on the trash heap is possible precisely to get a holy book in a dumpster. Why? It's in our world. Because the world just makes these possibilities of physical place of stuff, holy or dumpster. If this world were higher, if it was a world where holiness was visible and illuminating, a Torah scroll would never be able to be in a place of a bathroom. No one could bring a Torah book into a bathroom. It wouldn't be possible in the makeup of the world, of a higher world. But since our world is not a place of revealed holiness, it's a world of nature that hides on the divine. The laws of nature affect the book of Torah. In this sense, the thoughts and words of Torah, so long as they are subordinate to the laws of the natural world and not extracted from its parameters through holy intention, it remains bound by the natural laws. It's interesting because we made the Rebbe had one of the campaigns was to fill your house with holy books, right? And you could argue, if I'm not going to learn it, what's the point of having so many books on my shelf? But Rebbe argued. He said, I mean, it wasn't his. The Torah, it says you should have a lot of holy books, and because there's a certain level of there's just being there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as great as when you learn them with kavana. Then they're
Mm-hmm.
literally being converted to revelation of higher consciousness. But there's still we buy a lot of books, regardless if you read them or not. I think it's ambiance. It's probably a lot of the things that happen. Creates.
Holy,
Right?
right?
We're saying that it argues the idea that the book on the shelf, it's holy, but it's still part of nature.
But it's still
holy. Right. I think the sense is that it's the holiest element within nature. You then can take it and go